Esteemed speaker, Professor Vibhuti Patel ma'am, former Professor TIS and SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. Respected Professor Afroz Alam sir, Director CISIP, dear teachers and students, Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. On behalf of Al Baruni Center for the Study of Social Exclusion and Inclusive Policy and Department of Political Science, MANU, I would like to welcome you all for Hyderabad Dialogue Series, lecture series. Now I would like to request Professor Afroz Alam sir to take the proceedings of the program.
Uh, Thank you, Ms. Mohsina. You have always been generous in introducing the program. And first, let me say that I must welcome each one of you to this program, and most particularly our esteemed scholar today, Madam Professor Vibhuti Patel, who is not unknown in the field of academia. The world is knowing her services, her scholarships, and we are really obliged to have her here on our format called Hyderabad Dialogue series. So let me introduce the Hyderabad Dialogue. Madam, in 2018, we have started certain initiatives in the university from the uh, both the departments, one Center for the Study of Social Exclusion and Inclusive Policy, and the Department of Political Science, because we promote collaborative learning. तो हम इंट्रा डिपार्टमेंटल कोलैबोरेशंस को हमेशा प्रमोट करते हैं कि हमने कहा कि नहीं, द पर्पस वाज हाउ टू क्रिएट एन एकेडमिक एम्बियंस इसमें है, और हमने कहा कि नहीं, कोई और तो नहीं करेगा, हम सबको मिल करके ये कोशिश करनी पड़ेगी। और एकेडमिक एम्बियंस को क्रिएट करने के लिए जो पहला मेरा पर्पस था कि इसकी फॉर्मलिज्म से निकाला जाए, कि बहुत फॉर्मेलिटीज हो और ये एक पैटर्न बनाया जाए, नहीं, इसमें एक इनफॉर्मल डायलॉग का फॉर्मेट हो जहां पर स्पीकर कंफर्टेबल हो, ऑडियंस कंफर्टेबल हो, सबका स्टेक हो एक डिस्कशन में, एक डिस्कोर्स में, एक डायलॉग। तो ये कहीं मोनोलॉग ना बन जाए और एक बात पहुंचनी चाहिए, और इसी को सोच करके हमने कहा कि नहीं, लेट देयर बी अ फॉर्मेट जो डायलॉग का फॉर्मेट हो, और किसी एक थीम पर हम एक डिस्कशन कराएं और इसको ओपन करें कि लर्निंग बियॉन्ड क्लासरूम जिसको कहा जाए, कि कहीं से भी, कहीं भी बच्चा हो, स्टूडेंट हो या कोई भी शख्स हो जो सीखना चाहता है, जानना चाहता है किसी चीज में, वो आए हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म पे। लेट्स अस मेक एन इंक्लूसिव लर्निंग सिस्टम। वो हमें एक इंक्लूसिविटी को भी प्रमोट करना था कि एक डिस्कोर्स में सभी आए, सिर्फ क्लासरूम के नहीं, वो भी आए जो दूर दराज में हो, वो भी हैं जो कैंपस में हो। तो ऑनलाइन लर्निंग ने ये चीजों को आसान कर दिया हमारे लिए। इससे पहले भी हम ये कर रहे थे, और इसी पर्पज से हमने कहा कि नहीं, एक डिस्कोर्स चलाया जाए अहम मुद्दों पर, जिसका बुनियादी उसूल हो कि बेसिक से लेकर के उसकी कॉम्प्लेक्स डिजाइनिंग है जो कंसेप्ट की, वहां से शुरू करके हम को लोगों तक पहुंचाएं कि ये कंसेप्ट इस तरह से इवॉल्व हो रहा है और ये डिबेट चल रहा है, और आपकी क्या हिस्सेदारी है, या अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लेवल पे, या एज ए स्टेक होल्डर के लेवल पे। तो दोनों चीजों को हमें एक प्रिपेयर करना था। एंड हु, बिकॉज हम, हमारे सामने ये है कि हमें फ्यूचर माइंड को शेप करना है, तो यंग माइंड है, क्योंकि जब हम इन लोगों से बात करते हैं तो अपने फ्यूचर इंडिया से बात कर रहे होते हैं, क्योंकि कल ये डिसीजन मेकिंग पोजिशंस में होंगे, कल ये इस तरह के फैसले लेंगे जो उन मुद्दों से जुड़े हुए होंगे, तो मुद्दों की अंडरस्टैंडिंग जरूरी है। तो वन ऑफ द फैक्टर, इसी तरह से इस तरह के इश्यूज भी हम पिकअप करते हैं इस डिस्कोर्स में, ताकि वो रिलेटेड हो कंटेम्प्रेरी डेवलपमेंट से भी, ना कि सिर्फ और सिर्फ थियोरेटिकल डोमेन में रिच हो। तो दो चीजें हुई, और फिर हम स्कॉलर्स को लेके आते हैं जिनका सिर्फ और सिर्फ जो है रिसर्च बेस नहीं है, बट दे आर आल्सो एक्टिव इन पॉलिसी मेकिंग एंड इन ए फॉर्मेट। तो उनका एक एक्सपीरियंशियल थिंग्स, देन इंटेलेक्चुअल इनपुट्स टुगेदर मेक्स द वंडर in making disseminating the knowledge which we really aimed for। तो ये चीजें हैं प्रैक्टिकल प्रैक्सी में, एक्चुअली मुझे एक यकीन था इसको किया जाए, और इसी सिलसिले में हमने इस डायलॉग को स्टार्ट किया। और इस डायलॉग में करीब इससे पहले 6 सीरीज हम कर चुके हैं। इसमें फ्रॉम इलेक्शन के फील्ड में संजय कुमार को बुलाया, और lots of that is हमने आसिया शेरवानी who's working on the ground to आसिया शेरवानी को फिर इसमें women, caste, elections, so many issues we have covered. This issue is the seventh series of the Hyderabad dialogue where we call upon people, activists, policymakers, intellectuals to debate and discuss with us, share their learnings in a collaborative style in a dialogue format. इसका फॉर्मेट ये है मैडम कि इसके बाद डिस्कशन के बाद साइमल्टेनियसली चैट बॉक्स ओपन है, कोई क्वेश्चन पूछता है वेल एंड गुड, इट्स वेलकम, क्योंकि दिस इज व्हाट वी वांट. हम ये नहीं चाहते अपने पार्टिसिपेंट्स की, हम कहना चाहते हैं कि हम इंटेलिजेंट क्वेश्चंस नहीं ढूंढ रहे हैं. और हम बहुत ही सुपर मॉडल क्वेश्चंस भी नहीं ढूंढ रहे हैं. आपके सब मुझे सिर्फ फर्क इतना है कि आप सवाल करना सीखिए और सवाल पूछिए. कितना चीजें हैं, अब ये नहीं जज नहीं करते कि आपका सवाल बहुत छोटा है, बड़ा है, अहम है, नहीं है. नहीं, यू रेज द क्वेश्चन बट टाइप द क्वेश्चन इन द चैट बॉक्स. इन बिटवीन आप अपने उसको बंद रखिए, जो है म्यूट रखिए अपने अकाउंट को, क्योंकि आपके लिए भी अच्छा हो, एक कंड्यूसिव इन्वायरमेंट पे बातचीत हो. लेट्स नॉट मेक इट अ किचन थिंग्स, लेट्स नॉट मेक इट द वे द पॉलिटिक्स इज रनिंग. मेक इट समथिंग इन अ वेरी सिविल मैनर, एक बातचीत का है मामलात में. तो दिस इज व्हाट आई वांटेड टू से अबाउट इट. एंड ऑफ कोर्स व्हेन वी वर पिकिंग अबाउट, व्हेन वी कम टू नो कि जेंडर बजटिंग पे बात होगी, तो इमेजिन ये सिचुएशन कि हमें यही कहना हो रहा था कि हम एक इंक्लूसिव सस्टेनेबल मॉडल पे बात कर रहे हैं, मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट में, वेयर जेंडर इज नॉट इग्नोर्ड. एंड व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट बजट, तो हम ये भी कहना चाहते हैं कि इट इज नॉट जेंडर न्यूट्रल. तो एक बजट, कोई भी चीज आज के डेट में इसकी न्यूट्रलिटी स्टैब्लिश नहीं की जा सकती, बिकॉज यू हैव अ पर्टिकुलर वेज ऑफ लुकिंग एट थिंग्स. एंड जेंडर इज वन एस्पेक्ट व्हेन यू हैव टू लुक एट, जहां पर मुझे यकीन है कि विभूति मैडम इस बात पे हमें कहेंगे कि दैट कि हु गेट्स व्हाट in the budget really matters a lot. And it's not about there must be a separate budget for women. So there must be a focus that there are areas which must be focused more, who are benefiting the women, or will benefit the woman more in general. तो इसमें ये होता कि नहीं, जैसे हम ये कहते हैं कि नहीं हम 30% या 10%, 2%, 5% women के लिए बजट कर दीजिए. I don't think so कि this may be yours. The only thing is that let us create, that is because we are experiencing insufficiency of the fund, which may be used for integrating women to the mainstream, and not only equality framework which is there in theory, but outcome framework. So there must be an outcome framework of the discourse, and I'm sure this is going to enrich us. This discourse will help us sharpen our mind in understanding the gaps between men and women and the girls and boys. And this is going to be one of the model for how to reach or how to achieve an inclusive sustainable development model, where women can also say that I am a stakeholder to this. Thank you, Vibhuti ma'am, for agreeing to us, joining us in this discourse. And we want a future associations like anything with this center, with our department, with our people, as you have always been so kind and generous. So may I request Mohsina to proceed further, introduce our guests, so the people should know that who they are going to listen and who they are going to talk.
Thank
so,
you, sir.
Mohsina.
Thank you, sir. Professor Vibhuti Patel ma'am is a distinguished academician, economist, social thinker, researcher, and speaker. Recently retired from Tata Institute of Social Science, Advanced Center for Women Studies, School of Developmental Studies, Mumbai. Earlier, she was associated with Department of Economics, SNDT, Women's University, Mumbai. She is known for her extensive research and expertise in the issues concerned with women and economy. She has delivered talk on gender issues at several conferences in India and abroad. She was also a postdoctoral fellow of London School of Economics and has authored many books, monographs, research papers, commentaries, and reviews. Some of her works are included for policymaking as well. She is on editorial board of many learned journals. She has authored and co-authored 12 books, edited and co-edited 9 books, and contributed over 100 papers and chapters in various books edited by others, and so on. So now I would like to invite our esteemed speaker, Professor Vibhuti Patel ma'am, for her talk on gender responsive budgeting as a tool for gender mainstreaming.
Yeah, I must, one minute, ma'am. Here, Professor Amarullah Khan has also joined. Thank you so much for joining us. Hmm. Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah. So, good evening, friends. First of all, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Professor Afroz Alam, Dr. Abdul Taha, and the friends at Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad Urdu University for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on very important subject of gender responsive budgeting. And we, as Professor Afroz Alam has already given us the background of the current discourse on gender responsive budgeting, and he has also set the tone for today's. Oh, yeah, I need to share my PPT. Yeah. Hello. Please
Make
allow me to
host,
share my. Yeah.
Mohsina, make Madam co-host.
So as Professor Afroz told us that we are not talking about a separate budget, but we are only using the gender lens to examine the existing budget and what kind of differential impact it has uh, on the life and survival struggle of different sections of society, and especially those who are at the margin of the economy. That is very important. So in a gender responsive budgeting, like for the and it is a very important policy tool for gender mainstreaming, which is the goal, and I think that is the promise even women empowerment policy of our country makes. Now there are five very important steps to any budgeting process, not only gender budgeting. That first you have to identify the gender issues, and that means provide the situational analysis. What is the status of women and girls? And now when we talk about gender, even the third gender, transgender people, they are also included. What is their status in terms of education, health, developmental needs, skill, opportunities, decision making power, and also the health status. Second step is the baseline of collecting information. So we need to start collecting information on whichever areas where you don't see the information. For example, there are so many sectors of the economy where we don't have gender disaggregated data. Currently, there is a great demand by the gender economists to have a gender disaggregated data in the workforce, in the different sector, migration situation, among the migrants. Even when we talk about the migrants, we only talk about men. There are 14 crore interstate migrant workers in our country, out of which 3 crore are women. But the whole discourse revolves around men. And those who are not counted, those who are not registered, those who are not visibilized, they also remain unattended to. So it's very important that we have a proper data. Third step is conducting gender analysis of activities, that whichever activities are happening, whether it is educational activity. So we need to do the gender analysis, that why is the dropout rate among girls is more high. Why after secondary school, most of the girls, they give up their, nearly 50% of girls, they give up their studies. When we are talking about the health situation, why do we have such a high maternal mortality rate? Well, why do we have, is the problem of healthcare services not being able to reach out to them, or it is a question of anemia and malnutrition among Indian women who eat last, least, and leftover. So we need to do that gender analysis gives us the accurate information and nuanced understanding about the situation, so that that kind of targeted intervention can be made through financial allocation. The fourth step is conducting gender analysis of related budget allocation. So whichever, like if it is education, then you have to Ministry of Education's budget. If it is a question of nutrition, then you have to Ministry of Health budget. If it is a question of a worker's situation and occupational health, then we have to go into the Ministry of Labor budget or Ministry of Industry the budget. When it comes to the agrarian scenario, we have to, so all these respective ministries, their budgetary allocation we have to see, and also not only the allocation but also the design of schemes and programs that we have. How are they designed? What kind of rules they have? What kind of demands, the requirement that particular demand has? Now, fifth step is developing objective and also recommendation to improve equality. So, if there is some, we think that there are fault lines in the existing budget or in the allocation of funds or functions or functionaries, then what kind of changes we can make? So the first step in this exercise is the analysis of budget from gender perspective to determine the differential impact of the budget on women and men. Second one is the reformulation of budgetary policies and the distribution of resources to achieve gender equality outcome, as Professor Afroz also showed that we are interested more in outcome. So outcome is very important. Otherwise, we also pour water in a sand, nothing comes out. Okay, it should not be like a balu pe pani dala or kuch hame mila hi nahi. So that kind of wasteful allocation or wasteful fund utilization we should prevent. And third stage is a working systematically to embed gender within all budgetary processes. So not a single department or ministry can say they have nothing to do with gender budgeting. Each and every department, they have women employees, they deal with the workers' family, whosoever, even when they deal with the man, only men in that particular department, but they have their families, they have their daughters and wives and this thing. And at a macro level, we are concerned about everybody beyond gender binary. So all of us like know that budget makes a crucial contribution. All the taxpayers' money, the way government uses that money, how judiciously it uses, how efficiently it uses, and how just in a justiciable way it uses, that is very important. And budget represents the financial plan and has the most significant. It is the most significant policy instrument tool of the government for establishing macroeconomic stability, fiscal efficiency. Okay, you have taken taxpayers money, how efficiently you are using that money. Strategic priority, what is the priority of our country currently Atmanirbhar Bharat Yojana, currently is the pandemic is the priority. Okay, so at different stages of economy or different kind of a situation that we are facing, whether it is a tsunami or earthquake or agrarian distress, then you have to accordingly decide the budgetary priority. And ensuring the equitable distribution of resources in the country. So we are talking of equity. We are not talking about equality, as Professor Afroz also said, that only equality on paper, that is not. But how do you reach equality? By creating equity, creating a level playing field, creating an ecosystem which enables, which creates an enabling environment for those who are at the margin to come to the mainstream. So budget is a policy making tool of government to translate government's objectives into programs and services to achieve socio-economic development of the country. Now, the budget classification system, as we know, that whether it is a budget of a state government, Panchayati Raj institution, union government, even institutions budget, like Manu's budget, okay, you must be having your thick budget book, that how the university will spend money and how will it get money, how many proposals will be written, how much money will be coming from MHRD, how much will come from Ministry of Minority Affairs, how much money will come from UGC. Okay, so income and expenditure. So in budget classification system, it provides a normative framework for both policy decision making and accountability. So every institution, whether you are NGO or GO, you need to come up. What are your objectives, vision, mission, goals, objectives, and priority in your expenditure. So classifying expenditure and revenue correctly is very important for policy formulation and performance analysis. That what is the main policy of your state, of your panchayat or of your institution. So, and accordingly, you will allocate your money to the particular items or particular sector, and you also have to do performance analysis. There are so many times when money is parked in the ministry, money is parked in the department, it remains unutilized. Today's paper you read, Nirbhaya Fund, 38% utilization from 2013, after gang rape of a physiotherapist in a moving bus in Delhi. Government of India has allocated 1,000 crore rupees per year to, which is called Nirbhaya Fund. Why do we see complete non? There are states after states which have not used any money. Does it mean that gender-based violence has reduced? No, on the contrary, it is escalating exponentially. But the question is of political will. Those who are uh, in charge of this budget, whether they are elected representatives or the government officers or the ministries and department, if they are not convinced or if they are not aware or if they are not sensitized, they will not use the money. Okay, even to use money, you need to work hard. Ask your Professor Afroz how much he has to work hard to finish whatever token amount he gave or whatever funding the department gets. So it is very important that whatever money is allocated is efficiently used among sectors, ensuring compliance with budgetary resources approved by legislature. It's a public fund. It is people's money. So you can't just use the money according to the whim and fancy. No bureaucrat, no politician can do. It has to be passed. If it is a state government's budget, it has to be passed by legislative assembly. If it is a union budget, it has to be passed by the Parliament of India. If it is a budget of a district authorities or district level, this thing, it has to be passed by the district panchayat. And it is a Panchayati Raj institute like Gram Panchayat budget, it has to be passed by the elected representatives. Now, when it comes to gender, we know that because of the historical legacy and the injustices made in an inequitous society, there are certain areas where you have a very high gender gap. Education and skill development. Okay, recent study of UNDP shows that even after training 15,000 girls in a different skills, okay, they none of them are, it did not, the skill attainment did not translate into job. So there are certain prejudices existing even in our industrial training institute and even in the labor market, even in the where the employers have certain prejudice that women can't handle technology. So education and skill development, we see major gender gap. We see only